Hi, everybody. Welcome to WOTS Weekly Features. Today's guest is Nancy Cooper, First Nations consultant at the Southern Ontario Library Service and coordinator at First Nation Communities Read. We'll be talking about the First Nation Communities Read program and the best Indigenous books of last year. I'm Yelly, and I'll be your host. WOTS Toronto operates on land that is the territory of the Huron-Wendat and Paytune First Nations, the Seneca, and the Mississaugas of the New Credit First Nation. This territory is the subject of the Dish with One Spoon Wampum Belt Covenant, an agreement between the Haudenosaunee Confederacy and the Confederacy of the Anishinaabeg and Allied Nations to care for and to share the resources around the Great Lakes in peace. We encourage you to educate yourself about the land you live on, wherever you're tuning in from. So today, we're just going to jump right into it. Here is my wonderful panelist, Nancy Cooper. To start off, Nancy, could you please give us a little bit of an introduction about yourself?
Sure. Ellie, thank you for having me.
Of course, thank you for joining us.
I am Nancy Cooper. I am Anishinaabe from the Chippewas of Rama First Nation. I also come from Irish settler peoples and Potawatomi peoples. I've lived here in the city for the last 30 years, and I am married and I have soon to be teenage twin boys. They're going to be 13 on Thursday.
Oh gosh.
So we're getting excited.
Amazing.
I'm the First Nation consultant at the Ontario Library Service. Prior to April 1st, we were two sister organizations, the Ontario Library Service North and the Southern Ontario Library Service. As of April 1st, we've amalgamated into one organization, and that's the Ontario Library Service. Part of what we do at the Ontario Library Service is administer the First Nation Communities Read Report, which is why I'm here today. So I'm glad to be here.
Awesome. Thank you so much for joining us. I'm very excited to chat about First Nation Communities Read. Could you start off by telling us maybe a little bit about how the program got started and all of the amazing folks and organizations that are behind it?
Sure, I can. It started in 2003, so we're a ways in now. And it is a program based on the leadership of First Nation public librarians. There are 46 First Nation public libraries in the province, and this has been a program that the librarians have been very proud of and are very happy to call their own. We've really grown since 2003 to, I'll just give you an example, our nominated titles are up over 50 this year.
That's amazing.
Yeah, it's really amazing. So we have we're funded by Canadian Heritage through their book fund, and we're supported by the Periodical Marketers of Canada who sponsor our Indigenous Literature Award. So each of the selected titles in the children's category and the young adult category received $3,000 from the Periodical Marketers of Canada. So we've been really happy to have been in partnership with them for the past several years, and they have pledged to stick with us in the coming years as we continue to grow.
That sounds like such an amazing award and resource that we're able to now offer to Indigenous authors and everything. So that is awesome to hear. Could you explain a little bit about how it works in terms of titles being nominated and that process and what it offers to authors and publishers and all of those great people?
Sure, I can. We usually have a call for nominations from publishers in the late fall, and I send it out to all of the publishers. It goes to Cool Acquire, it goes all over the place via social media, and we encourage publishers to send in titles that have been published in the previous year. So right now I'm working with titles that have been published in 2020.
Okay.
And so there's two categories, children's category and young adult adult category. We have to get the okay from the creators to say that, yeah, I do want my piece to be nominated. And they have to agree to a few things like being able to appear. Obviously, it's going to be virtually now, but in the past we had tours of some public libraries in Ontario for the leading authors. Right now it's virtual. Hopefully we can get back to in-person visits to libraries.
Crossing our fingers.
Yeah, exactly. And then once the nomination process closes, I go through all of the books to make sure that the creators actually are Indigenous, that they come from an Indigenous community and they can be claimed by their community. And so yeah, this year we've had over 50 nominated titles. Last year was a banner year for Indigenous people being published. Once all the books are collected, we have the publishers send in enough copies for the jury. Our jury is made up of First Nation public librarians. I have 6 people on each jury. The books are sent out to each of the jury members, and they have to get busy reading. Good thing they all like reading.
Such a fun job.
Yeah, exactly. And so they'll have this. They should be getting their books today or tomorrow, actually.
Oh, gosh.
We've been working in close cooperation with goodminds.com this year because I don't have an office space anymore. I'm just in my attic. I can't collect all the books and send them out.
Yes.
So Achilles Gentle, who is the owner operator of goodminds.com, which is also the official wholesaler for First Nation communities, we graciously offered to do that piece of the work for me. So he sent all the books out to the jury. They have the summer to read them. We meet at the beginning of September and come up with our shortlist. We put out the shortlist press release, and then a couple weeks later we put out the selected title press release, and the award is presented via WOTS.
Okay.
Yeah, and then all the fun starts with the authors being able to participate in events that have library focus.
Amazing. That is the dream job, to just be able to sit and read books. I'm curious to know a little bit more about yourself. Could you share how you personally got involved with this program and what it means to you?
Sure. You know what? If someone had told that little girl growing up in a trailer park in Timmins that she was going to grow up to be able to just be buried in books by Indigenous people, I would have never believed them. I was coordinating the Club Omic program, which was a book delivery program to over 50 First Nation communities in Northwestern Ontario, when I was asked to take over as field consultant for the First Nation public libraries in Southern Ontario. And part of that work was administering the First Nation communities rated board.
Okay.
So I took that on. I jumped in and kept my nose above water. Was able to pull it off that first year, and I've been doing it now for over 5 years. And what it means to me, I'm just so blessed and privileged and honored to be working with the authors who want to make sure that Indigenous people can see themselves reflected in the pages of all kinds of different books, be they children's board books all the way up to academic textbooks.
Amazing. It's such important work. Thank you for doing that. Do you have maybe a fondest memory or one thing in particular that stands out to you when you think about all of these amazing years of doing this work?
Oh gosh, there's a lot of them, but I think for me, meeting the winners the year Tanya Talega and Joanne Robertson won, because they're both such awesome women, and I've actually been able to call them friends since then. But being able to meet them and really get a sense of their passion behind what they do and why they do it. It's not easy being activist as an Indigenous person,
Mm.
be it an activist for the water, or an activist for making sure that the voices of the dispossessed and who've been silenced are heard, like the work that Tanya does. Just to see these women being their awesome selves and being able to provide them with the award and to celebrate them was amazing.
This sounds like a great moment.
Yeah.
Okay, I would love to talk about some books.
Okay.
So you mentioned that you've broken down the award into 2 different sections. So let's see. For those 2 sections, would you like to run us through maybe the winners and finalists from the last year that you announced?
Sure. You know what? I'm going to share my screen.
Okay.
Because I'll show you the posters from the award.
Amazing.
So I think that everybody can see the poster for the children's category.
Yes.
Okay, great. This is a really important thing that we do. We make sure that we send out a beautifully designed poster with the covers of all of the books, so people can see them. They're beautiful. This artwork
They are
is gorgeous,
beautiful.
and they're in demand. We send over 3,000 posters all over Canada to libraries in most provinces and territories.
Wow.
Yeah. As you can see from the bottom, there's all kinds of provincial logos that we have, and I'm really happy about the partnerships that we have with many of the provinces and territories to make sure that people get to know about Indigenous literature. So last year's winner was in the children's category was The Bear's Medicine by Clayton Gauthier, and the books that are outlined in red are these shortlisted titles. So When We Had Sled Dogs, The Trading Tree, Mika's Knitting Needles, and then Finding My Talk. The other books were the books that were nominated from different publishers. And the beautiful artwork in the poster is from Christy Belfort.
Gorgeous. That's such a colorful poster.
Yeah, we really want to celebrate Indigenous art in all of its forms. So we make sure that we get Indigenous art on the poster, and we also have an Indigenous designer working with us.
I love
make sure
it.
that happens. Okay, I'm going to switch over to the adult category. So you can see there's quite a few more titles in the adult category. There normally is, although this past year I'm expecting to see a lot of children's books.
Oh, amazing!
Yeah,
that's so exciting.
So the selected title was "Chasing Painted Horses" by Drew Eden Taylor. This is an amazing novel. I don't know if anybody's if you've heard of it yet, Kelly, but
I have not.
Okay, so basically, this man sees some graffiti on a wall in Toronto, and he sees this image that he'd only ever seen once before when he was little, and it takes him on this search for somebody, and through the downtown streets of the city, and his memory goes back and forth, and it's quite a beautiful book. The other books that were shortlisted are A Mind Spread Out on the Ground by Alicia Elliott.
Oh, I love that book.
Yes. I think it's a must read for everyone. If I Go Missing by Brianna Johnny. In My Own Moccasins by Helen Mott, and Crow Winter by Karen McBride. We have some YA titles in here. So Indigenous authors out there, write for YA. It's a really important part of the demographic that isn't getting a whole lot of airtime. So if you're a writer out there, start writing YA stuff. We have The Case of Windy Lake by Michael Hutchison, and that's part of a 3-part series of books that he writes called the Mighty Muskrat series, and it's a bunch of cousins who solve mysteries.
Oh, that sounds so fun.
Yeah, Yeah,
Love a
it's really good.
mystery book.
It's really good. So as you can see, we have a lot of amazing titles. So I'm going to stop sharing. If people want a copy of the poster, they can reach out to myself, and I can make sure that people get a copy.
Amazing. I always say that my favorite part of these interviews is that everybody always has amazing book recommendations. And my list is getting so long of everything that I need to eventually read. Are there any other authors or titles that may not have made the shortlist, but that you would like to highlight or talk about?
Oh my gosh. Well, Jesse Thistle's From the Ashes is an amazing memoir. He was taken from his family and raised by grandparents, and the dispossession and the life that he led was pretty horrific. But he's found himself back to love and education. He's a professor at York right now. It's a really beautiful novel, memoir. Sorry, a beautiful memoir. Oh gosh, like I mentioned, Michael Hutchison's series is really, really good. There were some. I have to go back to my posters. Take a look at them.
Sorry to put you on the spot a little bit here.
Oh no, that's okay. Picking Up the Pieces. It's the book about the residential memory quilt. That's a really, really powerful picture, a book of pictures, kind of like a gallery book.
Okay.
Yeah, that was really, really striking. Also, Richard Van Camp's Moccasin Square Gardens is a series of short stories, and he's a master storyteller.
Awesome.
He's so good. Highly recommend him. For the graphic novel lovers in this audience, This Place, 150 Years Retold, it's from Highwater Press, and it's quite an extensive, large graphic novel about different stories from our collective past, and retold from an Indigenous perspective.
Good. Amazing.
Yeah, and as far as children's books go, Bear for Breakfast is a collaboration between Jay Ojic, who's an Algonquin artist, and Robert Munch. And so that became this bananas bestseller in Canada, like 100,000 copies. Which
oh my gosh.
Unheard of for an Indigenous illustrator. We also have books like Julie Flett's Bird Song and Richard Van Camp's Maybe We Have Enough to Share, that are just beautiful, gentle, loving snapshots of Indigenous life.
Amazing. I can't wait to get my hands on all of them. And then one last question just to round out our conversation.
Sure.
Some of these books, especially the children's books, are bilingual. Can you tell us your thoughts on publishing in Ojibwe, Anishinaabe, Woodland Cree, all of these languages, and the relationship between the publishing and the bringing back of the languages and sharing?
Sure. I think it's obviously very, very important to help our languages survive. As every day goes by, we lose more and more of our language speakers. So having that revitalization in the form of an actual book, I'll just show you this one book, The Trading Tree.
Oh, that's gorgeous.
That I wrote. I wanted it to be dual language, so we had another from Beausoleil do the translation, and I want to make sure that we get as much support from publishers to ensure that there are dual language books. If the author requests it, it should happen.
Yes.
There's all kinds of language courses in our schools, but also adults are going back to learn languages that were unfortunately not given. They weren't given the opportunity. For example, my mom chose not to teach my brothers and I our language because she felt we would survive better the less Indigenous we were in Canada. So I went back as an adult and started learning, and it's really tough because our languages are a world view. It's not just words, right?
Yes.
It's a world view. So it was quite a large mind shift for me to try and learn it. So the more books that are out there that are dual language, the better, as far as I'm concerned.
Yes, amazing. I agree. Thank you so much for joining us today, Nancy, and for this great conversation.
That was my pleasure. I really had a good time. Thank you very much.
All right, to find out more about First Nation Communities Read, go to olservice.ca/First Nations. This has been today's WOTS Weekly Feature. Tune in tomorrow for our interview with All Lit Up, where we'll be chatting about their Indigenous lit space. For discounts and deals, check out toronto.thewordonthestreet.ca/weekly-features. From all of us at WOTS, happy reading.